If you step outside on a clear night and look toward the northern sky, you will likely spot a familiar shape. 7 bright stars trace out the outline of a giant spoon or a ladle. We call it the Big Dipper. This model shows Earth circling the Sun over the course of a year. Because our vantage point changes as we orbit, the Big Dipper acts as a seasonal clock. In the spring, you'll find it high overhead, almost as if it's pouring rain down on us. By autumn, it drops low on the northern horizon, resting upright like a bowl. Using this same diagram, we can turn the 2 stars at the very front of the bowl, named Merak and Dupe, into a compass. If you draw an imaginary line connecting them and extend it out about 5 times that distance, you will run squarely into Polaris, the North Star. Staying with our map here, Polaris forms the very tip of the handle for the Little Dipper. The rest of the stars in this pattern are quite faint, so you need a very dark sky, far away from city lights, to trace out the full shape. Because Polaris stays firmly anchored in the north, finding that familiar ladle shape became a crucial lifeline. Sailors crossing open oceans used tools like this sextant to chart safe passage, and enslaved people seeking freedom followed these stars, which they called the drinking gourd, to navigate their way north. For thousands of years, humans relied on this specific alignment of stars. It was an essential, reliable piece of survival technology that hovered right above their heads. Long before we crossed oceans, ancient cultures mapped their own stories onto these stars. About 50,000 years ago, during the Ice Age, ancient people looked up and saw a great bear being chased across the sky. You can see echoes of that connection right here in this ancient rock carving. In this traditional myth, the stars making up the handle represent the hunters in pursuit. And if you look closely at the middle of the handle, there's a faint star called Alcor. To the ancient storytellers, that tiny dot was their cooking pot. These ancient observers viewed the stars exactly as they appear to us from the ground, as fixed, flat dots painted onto a 2-dimensional ceiling. That flat perspective built our cultures and guided our ships, but it is ultimately a trick of the eye. It completely hides the true, massive depths of the universe. To see what I mean, we have to leave Earth. If we fly out into space and view the constellation from the side, the familiar shape immediately shatters. These stars are not actually next to each other. They exist at vastly different distances from our planet. One star in the handle might be dozens of light years further away from us than the star right beside it. Yet, hidden inside this scattered depth is a remarkable physical connection. 5 specific stars within the Dipper belong to something astronomers call the Ursa Major moving group. This 3D grid maps out their actual movement through galactic space. These 5 core stars were born from the exact same cloud of cosmic gas. Today, they are traveling in the exact same direction at the exact same speed. This group of stars is on a synchronized multi-million-year family road trip through the galaxy. Let's zoom in on the bend in the Big Dipper's handle. If you have good eyesight, you can spot that faint star, Alcor, sitting right next to its brighter neighbor, Mizar. Mizar is part of a star pair. To see how that works, imagine 2 ice skaters holding hands and spinning in circles around a shared center of gravity. That is exactly what these massive stars are doing. Looking at this tree diagram, we see the single bright dot of Mizar split into 2 distinct stars. And if we look even closer, each of those stars splits into 2 orbiting pairs. Mizar is actually a hidden 4-star system. Now we can expand our diagram to include its neighbor, Alcor. For centuries, people thought Alcor was a single star, but we now know it is also a pair of 2 stars in a tight orbit. Pulling back on our diagram reveals the full picture. The pair of stars at Alcor and the 4-star group at Mizar are held together by gravity, locked in a massive, sweeping orbit around one another. That single flat point of light in our night sky is a complex system of 6 stars, all hiding in plain sight. That leaves just 2 stars from our original 7, Alkaid, sitting at the tip of the handle, and Dubhe, resting at the top edge of the bowl. These 2 stars are independent travelers. They have completely different origins and just happen to be passing through our line of sight at this moment in history. Alkaid and Dubhe are traveling through the galaxy on unique paths, heading in entirely different directions than the 5-star moving group. We can fast-forward time to see the physical consequences of these opposing paths. Over millions of years, the familiar ladle slowly stretches, bends, and scatters into an unrecognizable, random assortment of dots. Because the universe is in constant motion, the shape of the Big Dipper is temporary. Eventually, it will be lost to time entirely. It is a fleeting, three-dimensional snapshot in cosmic time. It guided our ancestors across unmapped oceans, and today it proves that the universe above us is alive, incredibly deep, and always moving.